Hello, my name is Derek from Tomcat Gas Training, and the video you're about to undertake is all about gas rating. So we're going to look at gas rating actually using a G4 and a U6 meter. So we're going to look at the old way of gas rating and the up-to-date way of gas rating, including gas rating the new smart meters. Now, first thing we need to do is be aware of some of the figures you're going to be using when you're gas rating. Now, a lot of gas engineers, when they come to me for reassessment, don't know how to gas rate. Okay? They say straight away, you don't do gas rate, I use an app. The only problem we've got with apps is the apps can be wrong because the calorific value of the gas could be set up wrong, and you can't use your smartphone or a tablet in the ACS sensor. So we're going to look at the full aspects of gas rating, and hopefully at the end of this video you'll be able to gas rate without using modern technology. So without further ado, let's get on with it. Now, first thing, some of the things we need to actually understand where the figures come from. So the first thing is CV. What does that mean? Well, basically it means the calorific value of natural gas, how much energy is actually in that gas. And at the moment we're using an average around the country, so all the boiler manufacturers, the cookers, the fires, they all use the same calculation, which is at the moment 38.76, and that's megajoules per meters cubed. So the MJ means megajoules. Now, when we're gas rating, we're normally using 38.7. So that's just for natural gas. Okay, so if you was using LPG and you're gas rating with that, then depending on where you were, if you were on Guernsey or Jersey or Isle of Man, you could be using a different calorific value. So these megajoules, another figure which you need to know, and there are 3.6 megajoules in a kilowatt. Okay, so that's another important figure to remember when we're going through there. But you will see some guys, when they're gas rating, will use a figure 10.76. And this 10.76 comes from these two figures. So if we do 38.76 divided by 3.6, we get a figure of 10.76. Okay? And a lot of guys use this as a cheat. But if the calorific value of gas changes, then you will have to change your cheat. So if you're wondering where the 10.76 comes from, it's from these two figures. Okay? And then the last figure we're going to look at before we start actually doing this gas rating is gross to net. Okay? Now when we gas rate with a gross figure. Okay? And since 2000, the manufacturers give us the net figure. Now the net figure is taken upon the latent heat of the combustion process, and the latent heat from the combustion process is about 11%. So to turn gross to net, we need to divide by 1.11. Okay, now it's important that we use the 1.1, because if we just use 1.1, then it'll only be 10%, not 11%. Okay, so make sure you use the 1.1. So these are the main figures we're going to be using when we're gas rating. Okay, for using a G4 meter or an E6 meter or one of the new smart meters. When we look at the U6 meter, there is another figure what comes into play, and we'll look at that then. So, not many figures to remember. So let's get on with gas rating and let's see how we do it. Now, the first appliance I'm going to gas rate is one of the hobs on this cooker, because I'm going to be using this meter. So this is a G4 meter and it's right next to the cooker, so makes it easier for me. So first of all, what I'm going to do is get the cooker running and then we'll go through the process. So let's get on with it. Okay, so I've lit the biggest ring on the left hand side at the front of the cooker, and I'm just waiting for a few seconds now just to wait till I get to a full figure. So I'm going to wait till I get to this 5, and then I'm going to start my stopwatch. So I've just started my stopwatch now, and what I've got to do is take my first reading. So my first reading is 2.065, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to time for the 2 minutes, and then I'm going to see at the end of the 2 minutes how many meters cubed for 2 minutes I have passed. Then we'll go to the board and we'll work the calculation out. So let's wait for this 2 minutes to be up. So our 2 minutes up, and you can see the reading is 2.075. So let's go and get to the board and do the maths. Let's have a look at the maths then. So on the board now you can see our first figure was 2.065. Our second figure, after we timed for 2 minutes, was 2.075. So if we take 2.075 and minus 2.605, we get 0.01 meters cubed, but that's only for 2 minutes. We need meters cubed an hour, so we take the 0.01 and we times it by 30, which gives us 0.3 meters cubed an hour. Okay, now in some situations we could go to the manufacturer's instructions and see if they give us the meters cubed an hour, or we can continue now and turn it into kilowatts net. Remember, from 2000 we need the net figure. So we then take the 0.3 and times it by the calorific value of gas, 38.7, which gives us 11.61. That's megajoules per meters cubed. That's how much energy we've used. And then we've got 11.61 divided by 3.6, because remember the 3.6 turns our megajoules into kilowatt gross, because remember when we gas rate in gross, which gives us 3.225 kilowatts gross. And if we want to turn that into net, we do the 3.225 divided by 1.11, because remember the latent heat is 11%, and it comes out at 2.9 kilowatts gross. Okay, now then, what I would do now is I will go to the manufacturer's instructions and I will see what the kilowatts is for that one big ring. And when I did look at the manufacturer's instructions, it says it was 2.9 kilowatts. Happy days. Okay, now another bit of contention in the gas industry is how much do we allow? Now you'll hear some people will say it's 5% under, it's 10% over, but there actually isn't a figure given in any books, any regulations, because it goes off the engineer's judgment. Now gas rating is only a small percentage in the regulation 26.9 on checking whether a gas appliance is safe to use or not. So once you've taken this reading, we've been looking, the manufacturer's instruction says 2.9 kilowatts. I think that's why I picked that ring. Anyway, but if it had said 3 kilowatts, would you have allowed it? Well, I certainly would. Okay, and I'm sure 99.99% of the gas engineers would pass it off that gas rate. You've also got to look at the flame picture. Okay, is that flame stable? Get it out in a minute. So it's not just the gas rate, because we have to look at other things, but the gas rate is a good indication of whether the appliance is burning correctly. Okay, now that's using a G4 meter. What we're going to do is we're going to gas rate a boiler using a U6 meter, and we're going to see what we come up with there. This is the boiler we're going to be gas rating. This is the Ariston, it's an E-Combi Evo. So we're going to gas rate on hot water, because that's going to be kind of giving it us as maximum at this time of the year. So I'm going to get the tap on fully. and then get gas rating using this U6 gas meter. Now I've got the tap running. I'm just going to wait till the finger goes all the way down to the bottom, and then I'm going to start my stopwatch and I'm going to time how long it takes to do one full revolution, and we're off. So the reason why I wait till it gets to a full figure, because it's easier to judge then. So I always kind of do it at 1/2 or 0:00. It depends what your gas rating really, but I'm gas rating the boiler. So we've got the hot tap running full pelt, the boiler's on maximum, and we're just waiting now for it to come round to the bottom, and then we know it's done one full revolution. Coming down to the bottom now. And we're now stopped. Okay, so that came out at just 39 seconds. Okay, so let's get over to the board again and let's transfer that information over. Well, let's have a look at the maths for this boiler we've just gas rated in hot water. So first of all, 3,600 number of seconds there are in an hour. Okay, so that's the first maths we need to remember for gas rating with a U6 meter. Now it took 39 seconds, so that was how long it took to do one full revolution of the test dial. Okay, now 3,600 divided by 39 gives us 92.3 cubic feet an hour. So again, some of the old boilers would have given you that as a gas rate in the old days, but we need to turn it into kilowatts. So if we do 92.3 and we times it by 0.028, because that's the conversion factor for converting cubic feet into meters cubed, it comes out at 2.58 meters cubed an hour. Still not kilowatts. So 2.58 times 38.7, because remember that's the calorific value of gas, and we've now reverted back to the G4 way, which gives us 100 megajoules per meters cubed. 100 divided by 3.6 is 27.7 kilowatts gross. And remember, from 2000 we need the net. So we do 27.7 divided by 1.11 gives us a grand total of 25 kilowatts net. Now, we just gas rated a combi boiler. According to the manufacturers, Ariston, for that boiler, it's a 24 kilowatt combi boiler. But we've just gas rated the input, not the output. The 24 kilowatts is the maximum output for that boiler. So depending on how efficient it is, will depend on what your gas rate is. Now, again, depending on the time of the year. So in the summer, when the incoming water is warmer than it is now, because we're in February, your delta T is going to be different, okay? So your boiler might not have to work as hard. So if you can preheat that water coming in, it won't need to work as hard than the boiler when it's gas rated, or when you're gas rated. So it depends on the time of the year, okay, and it depends on the output of the boiler. Remember, we're gas rating the input. So when we're gas rating boilers, it's not as straightforward as if we're doing cookers or fires. Again, we have to make our engineer's judgment, because if we did do this 5% and 10%, we would be a million miles out, okay? So when we're gas rating, condensing combi boilers, or any combi boiler what modulates, then we will need to make again our engineer's judgment. So remember, gas rating is a part of regulation 26.9. So this here is regulation 26.9. So where a person performs work on a gas appliance, he, she shall immediately therefore after examine the effectiveness of any flue, the supply of combustion air, its operating pressure or heat input, or where necessary both, and its operation so as to ensure its safe functioning and it's not affected by any other appliance. So that's what we're checking according to regulation 26.9 every time we do some work on a gas appliance. So that's gas rating of G4, gas rating of U6. Now let's refer to technical bulletin from Gas Safe 112 and let's discuss gas rating with these new so-called smart meters. They ain't smart in my eyes anyway. So the first smart meter we're going to be looking at is this Lundys GGY SV smart meter. So this meter contains a field changeable battery and a valve and is capable of operating in both credit and prepaid payment modes. So you can see from the photograph on the right hand side there are 3 red navigation buttons, and these are the buttons we're going to be using to do our gas rating. So you can use any of these 3 buttons. Now this meter displays a symbol in the top left hand corner of the display that indicates the position of this gas valve. So before you commence with the gas rating, the valve must be in the open position. If the valve is in closed position, then the customer will either need to put credit onto the meter or you'll need to contact their gas supplier for further guidance. So when you're gas rating with this meter, like you gas rate with any meter, make sure the appliance you're actually testing is running on full, and it's the only appliance that is running. Then you press any of the navigation buttons to wake up the display. The index is updated when one of the 3 buttons is pressed on the index plate. The meter will display this reading of the first screen and the index for up to 10 seconds. Make a note of this initial reading. Now you must allow this display to go back to sleep. This will take approximately 30 seconds. Now when the timer has reached its 2 minutes, it's 120 seconds, press any button again to reawaken the display. This will show the updated meter index. When the 2 minutes is completed, make a note of this final meter index reading, and then you can carry out the normal way of gas rating now. So take your first reading away from your second, times it by 30, times it by 38.7, divide by 3.6, divide by 1.11, will give you your kilowatts in net. Now the next gas meter we're going to be looking at is this Liberty EG4 V10 smart meter. So slight difference from the last one we've just done is we're going to be using this keypad, okay, and the main thing we're going to be using is this number 9 here on the keypad. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to press number 9 and it will wake up the smart meter. We're then going to press it again till it scrolls through to our volume. So we're going to need the volume test on this meter. So once we've got to the volume test, for 2 seconds this meter will display our reading, but it will give it us to 4 decimal points, but we only need 3 decimal points. So first thing we're going to do is we've got the appliance set on full. We're now going to press the number 9. When we press it the 3rd time, we start the stopwatch and then we time it for 2 minutes. So it's 1, 2, 3, comes up volume test. We've now got 0.7891 and we've started the stopwatch for 2 minutes. Once we've done our 2-minute test, then we can go back, and as soon as we press the 3rd time, we stop the stopwatch, and then the figures should come up for our second reading. Okay, again, it's only literally on for about 3 seconds, 3 to 5 seconds, so you need to be quick at taking the time. Once you've done that, then we can do our usual tests. We can take our first reading away from our second, we can times it by 30, we can times it by 38.7, we can divide it by 3.6, we can divide it by 1.11 and that will give us our kilowatts in net. And that one is one of the most common ones you're going to come across at the moment. Now the next meter we're going to be looking at is this Itron RF1 SV smart meter. So remember, when you're going to gas rate any appliance, make sure that is the only appliance running when you're going to start the gas rate. So before we do anything, we need to press any of the two buttons on the front of the meter, which is the orange or the blue triangle. The meter will wake up and start to show the index with the gas flow on the screen with an AO. If the AO is not displayed on the screen, then you need to scroll through by short pressing the orange triangle button. So within 30 seconds of waking up the meter, at the next increment on the index, we need to start the stopwatch and take the first reading. And then we need to do our 2-minute test. But after 30 seconds the index will go blank, but the meter will still be measuring the flow taken during the test. So after 1 minute and 30 seconds we can press any of the blue buttons or the orange button again and it will reawaken the display. This will show the updated meter index, but we need to wait till we've met this 2 minutes or this 120 seconds before we take our second reading. Once we've hit this 2 minutes, we can take the second reading, what shows on the display, and this will now give us our first and second reading. We can now use these two readings to do our calculations. So take your first away from your second, times it by 30, times 38.7, divide by 3.6, divide by 1.11 will give us our kilowatts net. The next gas meter we're going to be looking at is this LStep BK G4E smart meter. Pretty much the same as a standard G4 meter, but it has this different display. So again, if we're going to gas rate using this gas meter, we need to make sure that we've only got the appliance we're gas rating on and it's set to its maximum. So first thing we need to do is press any of these three navigational buttons to wake up the display. Once you've done this, the meter will display the index reading on the first screen, and this index reading will be updated in real time. Again, it will only last for 30 seconds, so within this 30 seconds we need to take the first reading and start the stopwatch. So again, after a short time the display will go blank again. This is always to save the battery. So again, after 1 minute and 30 seconds of the end of the 2 minutes, or 120 seconds of this test period, press any of the navigational buttons again to re-wake the display. Then again, we've got to wait till we nearly get to this 2 minutes before we can take our final and second reading. So once we get up to the 2 minutes, we stop the stopwatch and take our second reading. Then we can calculate our gas rate from our first and second readings again. So same as usual, take your first reading away from your second, times it by 30, times it by 38.7, divide by 3.6, divide by 1.11 will give us our kilowatts net. Now the last final meter we're going to be looking at is this Lundys GGY meter. Now these have been around for quite a while, and again they can be prepayment or payment meters. So basically what we've got is we've got two buttons. We've got a red button and a black button. The red button has an A on it, the black button has a B on it. Now when we're gas rating this, again we need to put the appliance on full rate, and we need to press the red button and it will come up, please wait. Then it will come up with how much credit is on the meter. It says the meter's on and it's £41.33 on this meter. We need now to press the red button again till it comes up with meter index. Once we've got the meter index, we can press the black button and start the stopwatch, and what it'll do is it'll say please wait, and it will update the index for us. So it's now come up with a reading of 0.447 meters cubed. We will now do our 2 minutes, but what will happen again after 30 seconds, the screen will go blank again. So again, normally when we get to round about 1 minute 50 seconds, you press the red button again until we get to the index, and then when we're bang on the 2 minutes, we press the B button again and it will give us our second reading. And then we can take our first reading from our second, we can times by 30, give us meters cubed an hour. We can times it by the 38.7, the calorific value of gas, divide by the 3.6, divide by the 1.11, which will give us our kilowatts net. Okay, so that's how we do this meter. If you've liked this video, why don't you give us that thumbs up or leave a constructive comment down below. If you've not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, then get subscribing, and don't forget to hit that notification bell because I release new videos every Wednesday. And again guys, all I've got left to say is thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and if you're one of my trainees, don't forget to put your name down in the comments below to prove that you've watched this video. Look forward to seeing you next Wednesday guys. Cheers.